It has been roughly 12 or so hours since the cancellation of the hard fork. And at this point in time, I wanted to provide an update on my thoughts now that I've had a little bit more time to ponder about what I want to do moving forward in terms of investing, in terms of trading, and in terms of my thoughts about the future of Bitcoin. Because as much as I try to stay focused on investing on this channel, of course, understanding how Bitcoin is going to be scaled in the future, understanding how the different players in the Bitcoin network all sort of work together is very important to understand, because it does create market moving events such as this one. And this particular hard fork was mostly the result of miners. And of course, now we have to reconsider what is the place of miners within the network, what is the place of exchanges in the network, what is the place of small retail traders, what is the place of the whales, so on and so forth, in order to understand what is going to influence the price of Bitcoin moving into the future. But that's a little bit, top level. Let's talk about what's happening right now. Now, since I made that video on the Bitcoin 2x cancellation, of course, Bitcoin has come down quite a bit. I made it at around this level right here. And of course, since then, Bitcoin has corrected all the way down to this. I say all the way down. Excuse me. I should just say it basically gave back all of its gains. It's really, when we look at the long term here, Bitcoin is basically at the same place that it's been for quite some time. And it's almost as if nothing ever happened with SegWit 2x. So in general here, what I want to point out is, Bitcoin is consolidating. It's going to be a question as to whether or not it breaks out to the upside or the downside. I do think that the downside is a little bit more likely, or I actually think it's quite a bit more likely, but it may not happen. I think we're due for a little bit of a dip or a correction. I'm not sure how far down it will go. What I will likely do is, if we do see a dip or a correction down to, say, 6,500 or lower, I'm going to start buying Bitcoin. It's funny, a lot of people will probably point out, well, you weren't a buyer of Bitcoin even when it was at $5,000. You felt that it was overextended. Well, I felt that it was overextended because I did not believe in this hard fork, in the sense that I didn't think it was going to be free money. I felt that it was going to put a lot of pressure on the network. I felt that it was going to put a lot of pressure on the exchanges, and the exchanges have a lot of influence about what the future of Bitcoin would have been. And that's something a lot of people seem to ignore. So I didn't feel that this was going to be a healthy hard fork for Bitcoin, and not just because of the fact that it was so much of a schism in the community, and not that SegWit 2x was wrong. Maybe increasing the block size is in fact correct, but the reason I didn't like it so much is because of the fact that it really was not well supported within the community. And when we see situations like this one, but we still see price continue to rise like it did, to me, that was a huge disconnect between sentiment and buyers in the market. And when we see a huge disconnect like that, there's a lot more downside risk that is possible. And now that's all been taken out now that the hard fork has been suspended. So I am a buyer of Bitcoin now, maybe not at this particular level right now. However, I will be a buyer if it corrects down to roughly $6,500 or lower. And what I'm likely going to do is, if it goes down to that $6,500 level, I'm not going to spend all of my dry powder in one go. In other words, I'm going to do my best here to make sure that I have money to spend or to buy Bitcoin with as it goes lower and lower. Because obviously, people are pointing out, of course, this is well overextended. So yes, we could see a correction back down to the $4,000 level. And if we see a correction of that magnitude, I will put new money in the market. In other words, I'm using all the money that I currently have in my portfolio. I will do some shifting of my funds in my portfolio if we see Bitcoin go down to that level. Now, you may be wondering, why would you do that when you don't believe the adoption of Bitcoin's going up all that much? And the reason is simple here. Bitcoin will continue to go up, at least in the short term here, because of the bubble-like nature or the FOMO-like nature of investors. They will buy the dip or the correction, whatever it ends up being. And as a result of that, I will as well. And this is sort of this aspect of investing that you don't really see with a lot of the traditional investing in stock markets, is that you usually only invest in stocks if you believe that they're undervalued. But with Bitcoin, you can basically buy into it even if you don't think that it's undervalued, on the basis that there's going to be new buyers that come into the market, and plenty of them, as a result of institutional investors, as the result of a number of other things. And you can bet that if Bitcoin takes a dip down to the $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 level, there will be institutional buyers that come in. And this is especially true going into 2018. So I am going to start being a purchaser of Bitcoin. You know, people have been asking me for a long time on this channel, when are you going to turn bullish on Bitcoin? When are you going to stop bashing Bitcoin? You know, part of the reason I don't like to watch your content is because you keep hounding on Bitcoin. Well, at this point, I like Bitcoin. I'm not going to buy at this exact level. I think that it's a little bit, you know, again, I think that there needs to be a dip first. But once we get that dip, I'm hoping we do, because if it keeps going up, I'm going to be really sad, because I actually think it has the possibility to go over $10,000 now. You know, a lot of people kept calling for $10,000 by the end of the year. Now I actually think it's possible. So I will be sad if it keeps going up and I don't end up being able to buy any. I'm going to have to think about whether or not there's a level at which I'm going to buy if it does decide to go up rather than correct first. However, I just wanted to let you all know that my opinion on Bitcoin has shifted, and I am now bullish on Bitcoin. I like the future of it now that we have the hard fork out of the way. This was the best possible scenario that could have happened for the market. I know a lot of people don't think that because their free money just disappeared into the Aether. You see what I did there? But in terms of the future of Bitcoin, this was the best possibility. And I actually think that in terms of investing and trading, people are going to realize that as well. Maybe not immediately. Maybe we are going to see a big sell-off. And if that's the case, I'd be ready to buy. But I think in the long term here, especially if we go over the next 6 months or so, this is going to be a great opportunity to buy into Bitcoin here soon. So I just wanted to let everybody know the sales have shifted, the winds have shifted, whatever the hell the term is or the idiom is. Everything, the tide, I believe. Whatever. Anyway, the point is, Bitcoin, I'm now bullish on it. I know that I've been bearish for a long time. And what's really funny about it is now everybody's bearish on Bitcoin. And that's just the nature of this channel. It's going to be contrarian most of the time because that's where I like to be. I like to be on the opposite side of the market because then you have the most potential. So I like Bitcoin. If it dips down a little bit or even we see a major correction, I will put more money into the market. You know, I will shift funds in my portfolio over to cryptocurrencies because, again, I'm much more bullish on Bitcoin now than I have been over the past month or so. It's happened. Anyway, in terms of other cryptocurrencies, well, you guys know that I've invested in Ethereum because I felt it was undervalued. It still hasn't gone up nearly as much as I would, you know, I'm not going to sell it anytime soon here. This is nothing to me. Right now with Ethereum in particular, I think with Bitcoin at $7,350, Ethereum has a lot of room to go up. I mean, a lot of room. I could see Ethereum going up to like $500. Now I'm not saying that that's a short-term estimate. It's probably not going to happen by the end of the year, but I could see it happening over the next year or so, and I'm satisfied with that return. You know, a lot of people in this field are not satisfied with a return of, how much would that end up being? That would be roughly 70% or so from current levels. You know, to me, that's more than satisfactory over 2 years. So just want to point that out, okay? I'm very satisfied with where I am with Ethereum right now. It's a longer term hold, and like I said, I probably am not going to sell it until it's at least $400 or higher. So people keep asking me about that. That's my sort of exit point, is going to be at least 400 and maybe even higher, okay? Probably at least 500 to be honest with you, because I would not be surprised if we see a run like that in Ethereum. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a run like that with Litecoin as well, back to that $100 level that it tested back in August. So, and this chart no longer has August, but basically Litecoin, if we can actually go to it here, hopefully it loads quickly. So you can see here that Litecoin actually had tested that level back in August. If we can actually, I guess I would have to do a custom date range. Now this actually does show, well, I guess it was in September. Okay, I'm blind. All right, I forgot exactly when Litecoin went up so much. And it did, I believe in the intradays, it actually did end up closing above 90 something dollars, really came close to 100, and then it reversed immediately when we saw Bitcoin actually reach that $5,000 level. So just wanted to point that out. In terms of where I'm investing in altcoins, basically anywhere works, to be honest with you. I still like Monero. I still like, you can probably consider Lisk here because there is a lot of hype behind that project, especially following the rebrand. We have Zcash. Please not BitConnect. Never BitConnect. Never Tether. Waves, Arc, Stratus. Any of these projects that you like that you've stayed away from over the time here while they were getting slaughtered, well, now is probably the time to start getting invested in them. This is probably the first wave. I think we're on the verge of another bull stretch. I know that sounds insane. And honestly, if you're coming from Wall Street, this probably sounds like a load of BS. Why could we, it's been nothing but a bull stretch for cryptocurrencies this whole wave throughout 2017. And I don't think it's going to change. I honestly don't. I think we're going to still see another wave of bullish action. Yeah, at some point, cryptocurrencies are due for a huge correction and maybe even a bear market. We'll probably see at some point here. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. I don't think it's going to happen over the next 6 months or so. There's way too much new money that's flooding into this particular market. And I also think that in general here, there's so much FOMO activity that unless the entire economy, and when I say the entire economy, I mean the real economy, not cryptocurrencies, but if we see GDP in the world decline, or if we see, emerging markets start to, I guess, stabilize, would actually be worse for Bitcoin than to see them be more chaotic. If we see the situations in different countries such as Venezuela, Argentina, and a number of other countries start to stabilize a little bit more, then maybe Bitcoin will do a little bit worse. But it would take some outside forces. That's the point of all of this, to really bring Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies down and bring us into another bear market like we saw throughout the majority of 2014 and 2015. So just wanted to point that out to everybody. Actually, no, just the beginning of 2015 was that was like the end of that huge bearish stretch. In order for us to see something like that again, I think it would require some outside forces. And I also think that it would require some sort of catalyst, and I don't see that catalyst coming anytime soon here. I think if anything, we're going to see more catalysts bring new money into this particular market. We are going to see more FOMO investing. The reason I like Bitcoin right now is even though it's completely driven by FOMO, I think that people are starting to think that it's going to crash. And the more people who think it's going to crash, the more likely, in my opinion, it becomes a better buy, because that means that there's more possibility that it can surprise everyone. I don't like when everybody thinks Bitcoin's just going to keep going up and up and up and up and up. And when they start thinking like that, I'm not an investor. But now, if we see a correction in Bitcoin, I'm definitely going to jump in and start investing. As usual, I hope you all liked the video. Let me know your thoughts. I know a lot of you think that Bitcoin's going to crash, especially as Asia jumps into the market, especially as we start seeing, it's well overextended, of course. You can make that argument as a result of everybody investing for that free money mentality. They're not going to get that free money anymore. Maybe this news needs a little bit more time to disseminate into the investing public, and then maybe we'll start seeing a sharper correction. Maybe Bitcoin's being manipulated right now. Maybe it's being propped up by whales. It's hard to say, right? So just wanted to let everybody know my thoughts. As usual, if you liked the video, leave a like, comment, and subscription, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching.